whether you're just getting started into running or coming back from an injury, I'd like to show you how to use walking to get back into your running even faster. So when we first get out and we start running, our first thought is, I just want to get there, right? So then I want to say to you, let's work on how you get there. And that's really important because you're going to use walking, especially if you're newer at running or, again, coming back from an injury. Walking's probably going to play a pretty big part in your running. So I want to make sure you're using the same movement pattern in your walk that you're going to incorporate into your run. Because one of the best things about walking is you're going to get so many of those good benefits. Like I said, you're going to build up your endurance, you're going to build strength in your legs, and of course in holding your whole body in line when you walk, to use that when you run. So I want to make sure you kind of respect walking as much as you respect running. Instead of thinking of walking as a break, think of it as a way to keep moving and keep focusing on your movement. This is really, really key. And I want you to also, instead of scheduling a walk break, walk as needed. This is really important. When you very first start running, there's so many thoughts. You want to have a goal of, maybe your goal is, I have a race that I want to train for someday, or maybe it's as short term as I just want to get to this tree, right? So whatever the goal is, I want you to think also, how am I moving to get to that goal? And that's really, really important when you first start moving. So again, whatever training plan you follow, the way I added into our RunRx plans is I have people use walking just as part of the run, especially in the beginning. However, I'm going to show you in just a minute how to use the walking. So that way, when you go from the walking to the running, you're still using that same movement pattern. And then you're just getting more efficient. And then when you walk all the time, it just starts to become how you move. And the more it just becomes how you move naturally, just think about how much better that's going to be in your run. So like I said, instead of planning it, instead of like, I'm going to run this many seconds and walk this many, think instead, I'm just going to run. I'm going to do my up, 2, 3. I'm going to hold my upper body. I'm going to pull my feet, And then when you need to take a break, maybe your heart rate gets too high, or you're going to get winded, or your legs hurt, then yes, stop. And I always suggest stop, and you can rest a second, reset, and get back in. And you can do it back, and you could go back to a drill run and then walk. Walk, drill, run. Run, drill, walk. Have fun with it so that you feel that the walking is actually part of the conditioning rather than it's break time, right? And also, I'm going to keep my feet moving. I'm still traveling. I'm still moving. So actually, I really enjoy walking. So let's talk about how to practice it and train for it. First of all, we're going to have what's called a running stance. A walk and the body, okay. Body weight's on the ball of the foot. I can wiggle my toes. My knees are bent. And of course, I've got my alignment, ears, shoulders, hips in line. What I would like you to do is to lift up through the torso. You're going to lift up through the torso and press forward. So what am I pressing forward? My whole upper torso up, and you can feel probably some movement in the hip. I'm not using any action, not contracting any muscles. I'm only lifting up my ribs and letting my chest kind of, think about that, fall forward, right? Because that's what we use in our run. But in walking, we're on the ground, so there's no chance of falling. We're going to stay balanced. So you're going to feel yourself lift up. And as you lift up, your back heel will start to lift off the ground. So I want you to find that connection. As I lift my torso, my back heel lifts off the ground. This is really important. So I just want you to feel that for a minute. All right, also arms. What do I do with my arms? I want you to hold your arms relaxed by your side. And we'll talk about this in a minute. But you want to feel freedom of movement in the arms. So we're just going to focus on that lift. Now, I'm going to lift and lift the foot, okay? So in the running pose, right, we're really focused on pulling to the figure 4. In walking, we simply want to lift the foot up, and then we have to do all the work. So we're going to be the ones bringing the foot forward and then setting it down. So in place, what you're going to practice is that lift, gentle, set down. See, I don't want to put body weight on my foot. I just want to let it touch. So in place, you actually practice forward and back. See, I lift forward and I lift back. I lift forward, and that foot is very light. So which foot actually has more body weight is the one that's actually on the ground. So this foot is getting strength. It's holding my, my body weight, if you will. So when I lift up, I'm feeling how light this foot is, and then I just set it down. So I'm not going to try to pull my foot to that running pose. I'm just going to pull it off the ground and then set it down. So this is actually your walking action. And it's very much from this lift and then gentle set down. So let's do a few on the other side, and then we'll put it all together. So this is kind of fun because in the beginning, again, having to learn walking or running is interesting as an adult. And I've never thought about it, right? So now I'm thinking. So I'm going to get here. I'm going to lift up. I've got like a line in the center of my body. Lift up. And as I lift up, let your body go forward. Notice how I use my arms. Like I'm really using them for balance. My knees are bent. I just want to feel this is the lead action. And then you're going to have to hold it. So what happens is, now watch. Let's lift the foot. So now we're going to lift the foot up. We're going to set it down. We're going to lift up, set it down. Lift up, set it down. Lift up, set it down. Making sure we lift from the ribs, right? Lift, down, lift, down, lift, down. Again, the leg that's holding you is the one that's actually doing way more work, right? So I feel that lift and drop. Okay, now we're going to travel. So again, we got to start in that walking stance. I'm going to do 3 short, obviously I don't have a long runway, so I'm going to show you how to do this in place, and then I promise I'll show you some movement. But what's fun is when you have this as your start for your walk and your lift up, what's going to happen is I'm going to lift up and then just start pulling my feet. So up, 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 up. Notice I'm not trying to what? I'm not trying to stride. I'm not trying to reach. I'm not trying to extend. Just like in my run, I want to be able for my foot to hold me. So if my foot is way out here, I can't hold myself. So if I think that if I walk by doing this, that I'm going to go forward more, I want you to make sure that it's the same as in running. Anytime you stick your foot way out in front of you, I mean, you can see it, I think on me even. If I put my foot out, oh, it just stops you. It's very jarring on the joints. So if I go from running to then taking my leg out and jarring my joints, one, I might re-injure myself, which is the biggest danger. Second, I'm stopping my movement. This is not efficient for your movement. And then later you'll blame the running. A lot of times, people will be like, oh, my shins were hurting, I was running. I'm like, well, actually, it could have been the walking. So let's really, really make sure that you understand in the beginning, it's going to feel really awkward. And again, so I would use this as my walking for running, actually anytime. But what starts to happen is the more you think about the movement of the up, right? So when I'm going to start my walk, I'm going to separate my feet slightly. I'm going to lift my hips up, press my chest forward. See, I've got all these good thoughts. So I'm starting with good intent. And then I think up, 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 up. Not trying to hold a 180 cadence like you do for your run. And in fact, I've really, for myself, and you can play with it, I kind of like 120 for walking. And again, we're not trying to set a certain beat for you. I just want you to feel that it is going to be that same kind of high frequency feeling that you have in your run. So when you're walking, your thought is lift, open my chest, I'm looking ahead. Again, my arms are by my side, and then I'm just pulling my feet. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go out and walk and show you. When I first show anybody this, and I just want you to know, because I'm laughing because I look goofy. You look goofy. You feel goofy. Why? Because walking is natural, just like running. So I just walk how I walk. So I want you to keep in mind that we do actually have everyone has their own natural way of like having their own style if you want. But I want you to know there are standards of movement. So for walking and for running. And what happens is when you first start, because you've only just been doing what feels comfortable for you, you will feel awkward. And most people, when I show them this, they're always like, I feel really strange. So we laugh because it's like, but then what starts to happen is like you're at the grocery store You're pushing the cart and you're like, oh, wow, look, this is so much easier. If you run with a jog stroller, so look, I have this sled here. If you run, ladies, fellas, anybody run with a jog stroller, I mean, 1, 2, 3, right? This is how I would jog. And then what if I get tired? Walking. You see? I mean, it's amazing how much it makes sense. And then you're going to say to me, but Valerie, what about my stride length? How am I going to get anywhere? And it's like, well, just remind yourself, for one, stride length is a byproduct in walking and in running. Both. So important. You can only create a bigger stride length by increasing your quickness of your foot off the ground, which is your cadence. By picking your feet up quicker, more often, you will actually travel quicker. And in the beginning, it's such a strange thought, but it's like a tire on a car. If you hit the gas, the tires spin, right? They don't leave the car. So this thought we have that I'm going walking and I'm going to take my foot out is actually preventing you from going forward, right? So in the beginning, and like I said, I'll show you guys, I'm going to do some movement so you can see it. I just want you to keep in mind that, so I'm going to just walk in place. When you're walking, you only feel your foot on the ground, just like in running. So instead of looking for the ground, which is what I call reaching, instead, when I'm here and I start to lift and pull, you really actually, you feel so much better because your foot, guess where it wants to be? It wants to be under you. It really doesn't want to be back here or over here. So it prefers to be underneath you. So the nice part with this practice is that when you do the lift forward and back, you see what's happening? I'm keeping what? I'm keeping my foot right under me so that when you walk, it's just very comfortable to have that foot right under you. So please watch this later. And again, at the end, I'm going to tack on some actual walking. And like I said, while you're running, when do I walk? When you need to. Walk as needed. And here's the best part. So if I'm out walking and I'm like, okay, whew, I had my heart rate up. Now my heart rate's coming back down. Then watch. All I have to do, lift my wrists and start to pull. You see, and I'm back to running. So if I'm out for a run walk and I have to walk, which is fine. I want you to walk. So watch, here I am, I'm walking. Whew, and then I'm ready to run. You see, it's like it just keeps you ready for either movement. And on the other end, hey, I just saw a friend of mine, like, hey, want to walk a little bit? Sure. I'm being a little bit silly, but not. I want to show you guys the efficiency of movement is what makes you a more efficient mover. So whether it's running or walking, you're going to get better at both, which you want. We walk all the time. So the more I think about keeping my knees bent, holding my line, lifting my torso, and then you do the same, guys, the same drills, the same strength exercises, the same self-care as you do for running, for walking, because you want elasticity. You want to be able to pick up that foot nice and quick, right? We want to be able to keep our knees bent. We want to be able to hold our body up. So all the same things that we want for running, we actually want for walking. So again, watch the end so you can see me out walking a little bit. But the most important thing to get out of this, guys, is running and walking are both great conditioning. And using walking in your running is fantastic. And what starts to happen is, like I said, even in your regular walk, you'll just start to pull as a natural action. And then when you go into your run, that's what you'll also do. So enjoy, have some fun. Get out there and do a run walk. So here's a little sample of the walking. So you can see my arms are relaxed, swinging naturally by my side. They will swing on their own. You stay focused on just pulling the foot up. And notice that the front foot does in fact reach out. That's okay. We're only focusing on pulling the foot up. Just think up, up, and then right into a run. Or going the other direction, you can also go from the run right back into the walk. Have fun.